Welcome, everyone. I am Tori McKenna, the Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement at the college. Thrilled to be with you here. If we were in person, this would be the Saturday morning of reunion weekend, and we would have just finished our parade of classes and headed into a large assembly in the 1962 room to really celebrate so many things with you all. So we cannot wait to do that again very soon. But for now, we are grateful for your virtual engagement. We've had some wonderful celebrations over the past 5 or 6 days and have a few more days to go here to complete our Reunion 2021 virtual program. So thank you. Thrilled to be here with President Katherine Bergeron. Katherine, welcome so much. Thank you. And I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tori. And good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to be here today to offer the State of the College Address, which I think it's fair to say is going to be one for the history books. In every way imaginable, this has been a year worthy of a Dickens novel. The best of times, the worst of times. It has been a dramatic year, a challenging year, a year of loss, and a year of great achievement. It's been a year of living through history and a year of making history. I've said it before, the greatest honor of my life has been the opportunity to lead this college. I never felt that more keenly than in the last 9 months. You know the expression, it takes a village. Well, it took the entire Camel village, students, faculty, staff, parents, trustees, alumni, to get us where we are today. And that is why I am so glad to be with you to tell you about the state of the college in the year of the global pandemic. Now we're going to move into the illustrated part of this address. And the story starts, of course, back in the fall, as we took the steps needed to open the college safely. Where many institutions tried and failed, Connecticut College prevailed. The intrepid class of 2024 arrived in August, ready for a brave new world. Masks were the new fashion, and our 750-acre campus provided an inspired setting for social distancing. But we took many more measures to keep the community healthy. For one thing, we established a partnership with the biggest healthcare provider in the state. Then we opened and ran our own testing center that allowed us to test everyone in residence twice per week. We also worked to reduce the number of people living and working on campus, while we found ways to revise every single aspect of the residential experience, from dining to the academic calendar, to the way we delivered instruction so that we could accommodate students wherever they were in the world. By October, we had managed to mount live dance and theater outside, the first performing arts of the pandemic. And by November, we pulled off our second annual all-college symposium, the culminating event of connections, with 200 students doing virtual presentations on how they had put their education into action. The online format only made the students more impressive, heightening the sense of professionalism and accomplishment. Students went home at Thanksgiving, and by the time they returned in February, everyone knew the drill. So we were even more successful in the second semester. After the initial quarantine, in fact, we jumped right to alert level green and never left it for the rest of the year. From February 1st to May 20th, our total COVID prevalence on campus was near zero, just 0.05%. The head of infection prevention at Hartford Healthcare went on record to say that our COVID protocols were among the best in the country. In April, the college went further, setting up vaccine clinics so that the majority of our students could be vaccinated before returning home. And just last week, we joined the White House Vaccine Challenge to promote vaccination for everyone before we begin again in the fall. All these efforts, of course, made a difference in what we were able to do together. And we did a lot. Con led the way in the return of NESCAC athletics in the spring. And I am proud to say that for the first and probably the last time in college history, we managed to support a season in which all 28 varsity teams were engaged in NESCAC competition at the same time. The arts were well supported too. Visual art and film held impressive end-of-year shows. And we built a beautiful outdoor stage in the middle of Temple Green, which the students called the Dune, on which we saw music, theater, dance, improv, and more, produced every day from April 1st through the end of the term. It was on this stage, too, that we experienced another history-making event, one that turned the college in a new direction. On April 28th, I announced the largest single gift the college had ever received, a gift of $30 million from Rob and Karen Hale. I'm looking pretty excited, as you can see, to support financial aid, athletics, and campus infrastructure. More than 1,000 people gathered on Temple Green to hear the news. It was an incredible moment. The extraordinary act of philanthropy not only signaled great confidence in the college and hope for the future, but it also marked a new milestone in our campaign. And I'm going to say more about that at the end of these remarks. Now, one joyful day deserves another. And we got it a few weeks later, a beautiful in-person commencement ceremony for the class of 2021. Honestly, it felt like a miracle. Temple Green was again filled with grateful attendees. Faculty and staff who had been meeting via Zoom for so many months had a beautiful in-person reunion. Ethan Brown from the class of 1994 and CEO of Beyond Meat received an honorary degree and gave a wonderful talk about finding your voice and founding a company. And Fritz Foltz from the class of 1982 was awarded the College Medal for leading the college during a pandemic. And parents, so thrilled to be present, honored the proceedings with a standing ovation. Now, those parents had a good view of what is certainly the most ambitious project we undertook during the pandemic, the renovation of Palmer Auditorium into the Nancy and Preston Athey Center for Performance and Research. It's a project that comes out of our strategic plan and a goal of achieving preeminence in the arts. And with the COVID restrictions on in-person gatherings, this was the year to do it. It's the first major upgrade since Palmer opened over 80 years ago. This Art Deco auditorium was conceived by the same architect who designed the Empire State Building, and the renovation takes care to preserve its historic character while introducing needed improvements. Among them are a new theater classroom, a seminar room, and 2 areas for collaboration and study, an office suite for theater faculty and staff, a new entry hall, and finally, after 80 years, an elevator that makes the building fully accessible. The hall itself will have a new stage, new lighting, new seating, new sound, and restored windows for natural light. Major gifts from Nancy Athey from the class of 1972 and Preston Athey, as well as the Sherman Fairchild Foundation, are making it all possible. Construction is on schedule with a grand reopening plan for October. Another area ripe for restoration is our waterfront, a goal of both our strategic plan and our action plan for athletics. Con is the only NESCAC school located on the water. Yes, we love our view of the Sound, but the campus actually touches the Thames River. A year ago, after students departed, our grounds crew took on the months-long task of clearing the hillside to make the river visible again. And there it is. And that, in turn, inspired a leadership gift from champion rower and Athletics Hall of Fame member Jessica Archibald in the class of 1995, a gift that will allow us to install a new array of floating docks for sailing, rowing, and recreation, as well as a new road, sidewalks, and lights to make the space a true destination. And that is the architectural rendering of the concept. So work is actually commencing right away this summer, and we anticipate the project to be completed by spring of 2022. A second road improvement project is now underway, and it's a collaboration between the college and the City of New London. We're building new sidewalks along William Street from Waterford to Hodges Square. This project, conceived several years ago, just got started in May and features a special raised crosswalk in front of the Arboretum to slow traffic and enhance pedestrian safety. And it also includes a dedicated footpath to and from the college. The work will improve our connection to the city, and it will be complete before the start of the fall semester. We're continuing to raise funds too for the next major project on our agenda, the renovation of the College Center at Crozier-Williams. Now, before the pandemic struck, the Board of Trustees approved the architect's concept, an open floor plan with fireplaces, study areas, a cafe, a pub, and a large meeting area and performance venue. The goal is ultimately to catalyze student collaboration and connection in our post-pandemic era. We foresee this project as next in line once work on Palmer is complete. All of these capital projects focused on enhancing connection speak to a central priority of our strategic plan, what we like to call full participation. It's the vision of a residential community where all people can thrive, reach their greatest potential, and contribute to the flourishing of others. It's a central priority of our strategic plan. Our equity and inclusion action plan spells it out. And this past year of pandemic deprivation and racial reckoning has made it an even more urgent priority. We cannot talk about the state of the college this year without discussing full participation. Our focus has been on a new program of intergroup dialogue and anti-racist education that we call the Dialogue Project. Democracy depends on citizens prepared to communicate across social differences with empathy and resilience. Connecticut College is uniquely poised to foster this kind of education. In 2019, a generous gift from Agnes Gunn from the class of 1960 allowed us to create the Gunn Dialogue Project. And during the past year, it has trained more student leaders in the art of facilitating difficult conversations. It has spawned a new student podcast called In Conversation. It has supported important public conversations on voting rights and community policing, as well as 3 summits on racial equity attended by students, faculty, and alumni. It has enabled the college to participate in an important intergenerational task force on police reform in New London, and it has allowed us to launch Elevate, our first annual conference on social justice, created just last January. Other good things have come of this work. We expanded, for example, our partnership with the Posse Foundation, bringing 2 new posses from New York City this past year and next year to join our longstanding posses from Chicago. And we admitted the largest number of students of color ever to the class of 2025 this spring from a record number of applications. And in a historic vote, our trustees appointed Debo Adegbile from the class of 1991 as the next chair of the board, the first African-American to hold that post at Connecticut College. This was a very meaningful way to conclude a momentous year. And I see all these developments as a reflection of our mission of teaching our students to focus their energy where it matters by putting the liberal arts into action. And to close this report, I want to talk about some of the notable achievements of the year. I'm going to begin, as I always do, with faculty, because they are the great models for student excellence and achievement. In the fall, I told you about Carla Parker Ethel, one of our newest assistant professors in biology, who won a seed grant from the Sloan Scholars Mentoring Network to advance her research on cortisol exposure and the biological impact of trauma on child development. Mara Sutman-Lee, assistant professor of government, also won a highly competitive fellowship from the Social Science Research Council for her work on the use of social media in voter education. And Anna Valia, assistant professor of art history and architecture, received a fellowship at the University of Basel to complete her book on German modernist architects and the American welfare state. In the spring, David Dorfman, class of 1981, received an Artistic Excellence Award through the State of Connecticut's Artist Fellowship Program, and Hubert Cook, the Sue and Eugene Mercy Jr. Assistant Professor of English at Connecticut College, was awarded a prestigious Career Enhancement Fellowship from the Institute for Citizens and Scholars to complete his book, Empathy's Dark Labor, on Black writers at the turn of the 20th century. Our students, too, have been richly rewarded for their excellence. Ali Reza Mohammadi from the class of 2022 and Camila Andrianzen Indigoyen from the class of 2023 won $10,000 Davis Projects for Peace grants to pursue ambitious agendas. In one case, by starting a library and mentorship program for children in Kabul, and in another, by working to rebuild relations between the local Peruvian community and the Venezuelan migrant community in Lima. The US State Department recognized two of our students again this year with its most competitive scholarships. Emily Hackett from the class of 2023 and Devin Rancourt from the class of 2021 have both won critical language scholarships to continue their studies of Russian language and culture. Three Connecticut college students, Isma Mora from the class of 21, Nefertari Pierre-Louise from the class of 2022, and Shania Yon from the class of 2023, received prestigious internships at Christie's in New York to learn about the art world this summer. And three more won prestigious Fulbright fellowships. Dominique D'Onofrio from the class of 2018 to teach English in Romania, Abigail Schmidt from the class of 2021 to teach English in Spain, and Jessica Linsweet from the class of 2021 to teach English in Brazil. And 5 students were awarded Gilman scholarships to pursue research abroad. Katja Christensen in the UK, Emily Hackett in Russia, Mohammed Al-Quda in Greece, Peyton Ferris in the UK, and Zion Martin Hayes in France. Continuing with international achievements, last year, the Thomas J. Watson Foundation invited Connecticut College to be an institutional partner in their high-profile Watson Fellowship, which provides a full year of funding to support a post-baccalaureate international interdisciplinary research project. This year, 2 of our seniors were named Watson Fellows. Tashayla Borden from the class of 2021, who will be visiting 5 different countries from Canada to Burkina Faso to pursue a project about Black women, art, and empowerment. And Jack Ryder-McGovern from the class of 2021, who will be traveling to 9 countries from Bolivia to Japan to study disappearing languages and efforts to preserve them. And in the best fellowship news of the year, Anne Monk from the class of 2021, a Newman Scholar, a double major in international relations and Arabic, a scholar in our Center for International Studies and the Liberal Arts, and the founder and president of the Student Refugee Alliance. She became the first person in Connecticut College history to win the Marshall Scholarship. This provides, as you know, 3 years of funding from the British government for graduate study in England. Anne will be attending both the School of Oriental and African Studies and the University of London to pursue her work on the international refugee crisis. That's what I call putting the liberal arts into action. Now, none of this would be possible, of course, without your help. And I want to close this pandemic year State of the College with a heartfelt thank you. From the emergency funds for our students during the pandemic, to your support of our strategic priorities, you have made this a year of historic fundraising. The class of 1970 broke a record for reunion classes, raising a total of $4.3 million in honor of its 50th reunion, with more than half of it dedicated to endow the director of our nationally recognized Academic Resource Center. Overall, we are poised to have the best fundraising year in our college history, with a total of $53 million in new gifts and commitments raised so far. That brings our total campaign fundraising to $180 million this year in a pandemic. Who could have imagined it? This is a real milestone. And while we're speaking of milestones, just last month, the Connecticut College Endowment reached an incredible milestone, surpassing $400 million for the first time in our history. Now, when we conceived our strategic plan, we had a goal of doubling the size of our endowment in 10 years, from 250 million to 500 million. And we're now 80% of the way there. Our greatest achievement, of course, is in you. Our greatest endowment is in you, our alumni, who show every day the enduring value of a Connecticut college education. So I'd like to close now by paying tribute to the winners of our most treasured alumni awards and prizes from the last 2 years. You'll find a longer story about this in the spring issue of your CC magazine, but for now, I'll just recognize the winners. So the Harriet Busher Lawrence Class of 34 Prize for Leadership in Public Service went to Mary Jane Atwater of the class of 1970 and Katherine O'Sullivan C. in the class of 1970, as well as Lois Alcott Price from the class of 1971 and John Walters from the class of 1971. Alexandra Felfi from the class of 2010 and Adrian B. Capaldi from the class of 2006 and John Mead from the class of 2011 received the Mac Arum Class of 89 Award for Distinguished Professional Achievement. The Agnes Berkeley Leahy Class of 21 Award for Outstanding Commitment to the College was presented to Gwendolyn Goff, Class of 1970, Ronna Reynolds, Class of 1971, and Anna Maxwell Livingston from the class of 1971. Eric Kaplan and Deborah Nichols Lossie from the class of 1966 were honored with the Alumni Tribute Award for extraordinary service over many years. And I'm going to have to say Eric Kaplan of the class of 1985, because he is very proud to be a member of that class. And finally, Dr. Lois Mendez Catlin from the class of 1980 and Anne-Marie Lott Lizaralde from the class of 1991 received the Goss Award for their enthusiastic and ongoing participation in the college. So let me just end by saying congratulations and gratitude to all of you for your inspiration, your leadership, and your love and your loyalty to Connecticut College during this historic year. I look forward to celebrating with you in person in 2022. And I wish you now, for now, a splendid orientation, a splendid continuation of this beautiful extended at-home reunion. Thank you so much.